Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Chris Collier. I am the host of Conquer with Chris, the podcast you don't want to miss. We have a great guest today. Let's get right into it. Colin Simpson, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Chris.
So, Colin, we're not local to each other. So, tell the people a little bit about yourself and where you're from and what you do.
Thanks, Chris. Well, yeah, my name's Colin. I'm a trading coach. I'm based in Port Douglas in far north Queensland in Australia, so a long way from the States. It's very tropical where we live. It's in the tropics. We get cyclones like you get hurricanes. I've been doing this for about 11 years now and love what I do. Love helping other people. And I'm a trader myself and I teach people how to trade, but my main focus is on their trading psychology. And I've just been actually presenting a paper on trading psychology this weekend near Sydney. And that's my passion and that's what I teach my clients.
So Colin, let's cut to your story so we can get back to how you help people. I'm sure you weren't always a trading psychologist, if you will, or a trading mentor. So how did you get to that place?
That's a very long story, Chris. I started off life as a farmer. I was a farmer for 48 years, but then I moved up here to far north Queensland 12 years ago. But yeah, grew up in a family farming situation. Family's been on the land for 150 years. And I remember way back in the 1970s, my late father used to get a newsletter from some broker, and it had, as they did back then, a couple of paragraphs of information about the company, and in the corner was a very small chart, and those charts just intrigued me. I knew a bit about the stock market, but not a lot, but it intrigued me that you could look at a chart and kind of get an idea of what to do. So from very humble beginnings back then, I started to trade and not very successfully. Then I went off and did some courses, and in actual fact, one of my mentors actually asked me to take over her private client work some 11 years ago. And that's what I do now. I mentor people in trading, and as I said, focusing on their psychology, which is, in my mind, 80% of trade is logical.
So
that's my story, Chris. It's a bit different to a lot.
Yeah, I think it's great because it fits in a lot with the Colonel Sanders, the Ray Krocs. You were a farmer for a long time and then you switched to something else. I think it's a good story. So what are some of the principles you've had to learn to make you a better trader? And what are some of the things and thought processes you teach other people to become a good trader?
Well, I guess before you learn what you need to be a trader, you need to unlearn a lot of stuff that has been either imposed upon you or you have learnt about the markets in the past. A lot of trading rules are counterintuitive to what gets us through life. For argument's sake, trading itself has very few boundaries. You decide when you enter the market, you decide when you exit, you decide how much you're going to risk. Now, in general society, there's rules about just about everything, and they don't apply in trading. So trading attracts people who like few rules in their life, and that's where they come unstuck. Because there's no rules, they tend to lose a ton of money because they don't know what they're doing. So it's a matter of unlearning a lot of things. A really good analogy that I use in some of my presentations is a little kid, 2 or 3 year old kid, first meets a dog. They're curious, they want to go off and interact with the dog bites them. They think, well, this sucks. And from then on, they think all dogs are nasty because they've got this mental picture of a dog. You take that across to the trading context. You have a couple of losses, you think the market hates you. And if you're going to trade with a mental attitude that the market hates you, you're not going to succeed. And so it's these things that we have developed over our lifetime that makes it really, really hard. I actually prefer working with newbie and wannabe traders who haven't formed any trading baggage, as I call it, because they're coming to me with a clean slate. Whereas if I've got someone, and the hardest ones for me to work with, and I generally decline to work with them, the guys and girls who, when I say something, said, "Yep, know that. Yeah, I know that. Yeah, I know that," which generally means they don't know it, but it also means their mind is closed. And if you're going to come into it with a closed mind, you're not going to succeed. It is a little bit, as I said before, counterintuitive to what you think you need to do. And a lot of people here think trading is risky, and they say it's akin to gambling. Well, it is if you don't know what you're doing, but at least in gambling, there's more rules. If you go to the casino, you play by the casino's rules. Whereas if you log on to an online broker, there's very few rules except when the broker is actually open. And so it's just a different world, and it's just trying to get people to think like a trader. And that is the hardest part of this caper.
So your job is very similar to mine. I do a lot of internet marketing, and I do a lot of training and coaching of people who want to be entrepreneurs, thought leaders, and influencers. I have to teach them how to unlearn pretty much everything they learn in life, because, in school, we're taught that failing's bad. In entrepreneurship, the more you fail, the better you get. And so,
And trading is similar, Chris. Sorry to interject. Trading is very similar. And one of the big fears, there's 4 big fears in trading, and one of them is being wrong. Now, if you have a trading plan, and you're nuts if you don't, but when you have a trading plan and you put on a trade and it just doesn't work out and you lose whatever it is you risked, people say, "Oh, I was wrong." Well, I don't accept that, and I yet to come up with a better term. The trade just didn't work out. And people need to accept that in trading, you're often going to be wrong 50% of the time. Now, I use the analogy with pilots. Pilots can't be wrong 50% of the time. You've got to land that plane every time. And so people in those sorts of professions sometimes struggle with trading because they can't accept the fact that trading will incur losses, period. There is no way around it.
I got an analogy that'll help you, Colin. A baseball player, if he gets on base 3 out of 10 times, which is 30%, he will make millions of dollars being a baseball player.
Yep.
If you can just get right 30% of the time, which is less than 50, you can make millions of dollars. I'm taking in the stock market, in trading as well.
Yep. Well, we have, and I know nothing about baseball except it's pretty much your national game over there, I guess. But people have told me about a gentleman called Babe Ruth, who I gather was a pretty big hitter. And he used to hit a lot of home runs and low percentage, but man, when he connected, it was a big hit. And I guess trading's a bit like that as well. And I'm sure what you're doing as well. And yeah, but you've got to be able to wear the times you don't connect, or you connect badly, because when you get the big one, it's colossal.
So what you're saying is when you get into something, you need to learn the risk factors, learn the ways to minimize your risk, right? You want to minimize your risk as much as possible?
Well, you know your risk, you embrace your risk. And I've actually, in terms of getting around the idea of being wrong, I view risk on each trade, and you have to know what your risk is and not put a trade on without quantifying your risk, which means putting on a stop, which is where you'll get out if the trade doesn't work out. But your risk is an investment in your continued equity growth. Now, sometimes it's not a good investment. Other times it's a colossal investment. But if you don't risk anything, you don't gain anything. And that's really what it comes down to. But know your risk, and know that while each trade has an unknown outcome, it's basically a numbers game. Like, I know 50% odd will be losers, 25% winners, 25% break even. I can go back over any of my systems the last 20 years. They're the kind of figures. I know my average loss will be about 0.6 to 0.7 of what I risked. I know those numbers. So it's very easy for me to put a trade on because I know that even if I've had 6 losers in a row, I know what my numbers are. And so it's very easy for me just to put the next trade on without batting an eyelid. And that's what you've got to be able to do.
Gotcha. See, in other words, you take the emotion out of it.
Absolutely.
It's
You
like
become robotic.
It's a lot like sales. When you get into sales, and which is to me the best way to learn entrepreneurship, the best way to create income outside of investing, is sales. You just go through the numbers with not caring about the outcome. You just keep doing the same thing and always getting better. And then you see if that process works over 100, over 200. If that process doesn't work, then something's wrong with your process, something's wrong with your delivery. So you have to always be, fixing that. But all that time, you're also knowing how to better engage people. And this is kind of like, hopefully, so are you, as you get further into stocks, are you getting better or stay the same? Does the law of large numbers work with you guys?
I think for me personally, I've probably plateaued in terms of I am unemotional about my trading. I take pretty well most of what the market makes available. Now, some years it's just a poor market. You can't make a lot of money. And you've got to accept that also. But in the years, in a massive bull market, there are still people who don't make any money because they don't know what they're doing. And we have an expression here, and I'm sure you have it over in the States. When taxi drivers start giving you stock market tips, it's about time to start selling. Because, and all my stuff is rules-based. And I have, when people are trying to identify candidates to trade, I say, I don't mind what your rules are specifically, but they have to be a yes or a no. There's no room for subjectivity. So has it closed above X price? Yes or no? It's a very objective answer, because if you introduce subjectivity and the trade doesn't go wrong, you're going to beat yourself up, and that's not good for your mindset. So what I say to my students is that the time for thinking is when you're designing your system. Once you've got your system designed, you're just a button pusher. You just follow your rules. Now, thousands and thousands of traders can't even do that. And I don't know, Chris, whether you've heard about a group in the States in the 1970s called the Turtles. And there were 2 traders who had a bet, 2 very successful traders who had a bet as to whether trading could be taught or it was innate. So they went and advertised for, I think, 20 people to come and learn to trade. They were each given a 100K account. This is back in the 70s, that was Bitcoin. And they were sat down, had 2 weeks of education, and they sat down, of course, it's the day before internet, so they had a phone to their broker. And of those 20, only about 5 or 6 made money. Now, they all had the same rules, the same phone to the same broker. They couldn't do it. Why? Because of their psychology. Now, it wasn't even their money, but they just couldn't do it. And the most famous and the most profitable of those trades was a guy by the name of Curtis Faith. He's written a book about it, and it's an awesome book. And it's one of the books that I recommend my guys read before, well, as a prerequisite to doing my courses, because it really puts it down to the fact that it's just a numbers game. And I'm all about that. Of the 3 books that are prerequisites, none of them are particularly about trading as such. They're about psychology. They're about very general trading stuff. And there's Curtis's book. People think trading's about having the best indicator or whatever. It's not. It's about having the best mindset. And I'm sure that applies in what you do as well, Chris.
It does. It does. Mindset's everything. Because if no matter what kind of strategy or system or process you use, no matter if you have push button technology, if you don't think it's going to work, it's not going to work.
Yep, dead right.
And so at the end of the day, is we have to get to a place where we believe in what we're doing, no matter what it is, right? So when you're setting up for trading, I guess when you're setting up your rules, you better believe they're going to work to the best of your ability. You can always change them to improve the quality of your rules, right?
Oh, absolutely. But what I like to do is, the way I work with my guys is I give them ideas to to do a trading system. And the way my courses work, they actually develop their trading plan under my guidance. And they, after each module, they send me their trading plan with their updates from that particular module. And I have a look at it. And if they'd have something that's pretty way out and radical, I say, mate, that's most likely not going to work. Now, if they choose not to, believe me, that's fine. But I've done my job as a mentor to say, nah, don't do that. And at the end of the day, when they've finished their course, they get an email from me to say either you are or you are not trade ready in my estimation, because I need to protect my ass from someone who goes out there, thinks they know it all with a crap system and loses a ton of money and blames me. So there's always an email that says, yes, you're ready to go. No, you're not. And I've got a chap who just finished the course. He's actually an airline pilot in Dubai with Emirates. And he's just finished last week. And this Monday morning, time he gets up in Dubai, he'll be placing his first trades. And that's awesome. He's been with me for 3 months and he's put together a really, really good trading plan and he is trade ready.
And so most of your people that you train, do they go on to end up trading, using trading to replace their job, or they just do it as for retirement income, or some of everything?
Bit of both. There's a lot of unreal expectations out there, and you probably see it over there. People spruiking all sorts of nonsense about how much money there is to be made in the various markets, especially crypto in this day and age. Now, I trade Bitcoin. I trade Bitcoin futures, and I made money in this uptrend, and I've just actually gone long again today. But it's not the sort of returns that people are thinking about. I hate when I see ads that say, Debbie was a nurse and now 6 weeks later she's earning 3 times her nursing income. I mean, it's just a pile of, and those sorts of ads make it really hard for me, who tries to cut through all the hype and nonsense, because people think they're going to make hundreds% return each year. One guy, Jake, he came to me and said, mate, I want to replace my income. I said, sure. How much you earn? 100 grand. Cool. How much you got to trade with? 50 grand. And I said, mate, you're going to earn 200% per year, every year. Yeah, mate, that's right. I said, no way. He hung up on me. Which is a good thing, because I couldn't have worked with him.
So we're both fighting the same kind of thing, because I deal highly in education of people so they can market it properly on the internet. And you got these people who say, oh, we got this one push button system. We've got this pie in the sky, unknown person started making $500,000 a day. So we're dealing with the same type of, I wouldn't call it, it's false advertising. That's really what it is.
It is. Yeah.
Except they know how to word it in such a way. And then, of course, there's the claim at the end. Not all people will earn this kind of income.
And in a font that you can't read because it's so damn small.
Right.
And see, here in Oz, and I'm sure you've got similar rules in the States, but the Australian Securities Investment Commission don't allow you to actually advertise returns. But of course, and there's a guy who lives in Bali, I hope he doesn't watch this podcast. He's been in jail a couple of times, but he lives in Bali and he can beam into Oz through the internet and make all these claims, and ASIC can't touch him unless he touches down in Oz. And similarly now, especially with COVID, when you can't travel. I mean, I've heard reports of people who put money into a foreign currency denominated trading account in countries with dubious regulations, and they do okay. They try and get their money back. And one particular guy had 30 grand in his account. He wanted to bring it back home, and they were going to charge him 10 grand to get the money out. And this is based in some foreign country with dubious regulations. When I looked up, it said a member of the International Monetary Control Association. It doesn't exist, but they make it look good, and it's just nonsense. Yeah. And you have to be sensible about what you do. And in this day and age, when you can't travel, you've got to do it in your home country.
Yeah, yeah.
Where there's a chance that someone's going to help you if you come across someone who's operating a little dodgily.
Right. Yeah, that kind of stuff, I hate to see it happen. They make up some, uh, instead of like, they call themselves the Federal Bureau of whatever.
Yep. And it
And
doesn't
it
exist.
sounds good, sounds great,
Yeah.
but at the end of the day, it's fraudulent.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we've talked about that. So if someone wants to get in trading or they're interested in trading, how can they get in contact with you, Colin?
Just through my website, Chris, tradingmentor.com.au. It's pretty simple. There's contact details on there. There's email, which is just colin@tradingmentor.com.au. Obviously, a phone call from the States is going to be a bit problematic, but and I do all my sessions, and I do very little face-to-face because Oz is a pretty big country. I do have some clients overseas as well, but it's all done on Zoom, like we're talking now, and it just works. And it's a very simple, practical, hands-on thing that I teach. I mean, there's a lot of theory out there, but I'm all about getting people ready to actually start trading.
Wow. Do you have a favorite quote or something you'd like to share?
I do. And it's from a guy by the name of Mark Douglas, who's passed away now, but Mark wrote 2 books on trading psychology. His best one is called Trading in the Zone, and that is like my go-to book for trading psychology. And his quote is, "The consistency you seek is in your mind, not in the markets." And
Wow,
it's an awesome quote.
That's a great quote. The consistency you seek is in your mind, not in the market. Man, that'll apply
Yes.
to almost anything.
Well,
Actually, everything.
you could remove markets, you could put sales or whatever in for your stuff, and it's just. And in the presentation that I gave on the weekend, that I actually put that quote up and attribute it to Mark because it's certainly his words twice during the presentation, and it's the very last one. It's the very last slide. It's the final slide. I say, guys, this is what it comes down to, and I actually read it, even though it's up on the screen. I read it very, very slowly because you can sum up what I do with that quote.
That's great. That's great. So is there anything you want to leave the people with before we go?
No, look, that's pretty much it, Chris. Thank you for the opportunity and great chatting with you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for watching. I want to thank Colin for being on today. Please like, share, subscribe, download, depending on what platform you're on, whether you're watching or listening or both. Thank you so much. Have a great day.